Greetings. One of the most important business skills you can develop is the ability to completely understand your audience, whether you're speaking as a keynote or a workshop or an individual audience of one in a leadership or sales situation. The word that you want to master as a communicator is empathy. Now, for years, I struggled with this because I made the mistake of equating empathy and sympathy. There's a problem with those two words. They sound so closely alike, but they're very different. Sympathy means I accept your feelings, your beliefs about a situation and change mine. Empathy is I understand your situation. I understand your emotions and feelings. It doesn't mean I accept them. I just understand you. The classic example I've heard is if somebody's sick, somebody with sympathy says, well, I'll be sick too. I don't want you to be sick alone. Empathy is I understand you're sick and you don't feel well, but I'm staying healthy. So how do you become empathetic to people? And by the way, there's a huge misunderstanding with empathy from a lot of people that empathy is a sign of weakness. It's not. The best negotiators in the world, sometimes hostage negotiators, have to develop an empathetic stance so they understand the background and the beliefs of the people they're working with. If you don't understand that, it can make for a lot of miscommunication, and in the case of hostage negotiators, utter disaster. So how do you listen more empathetically? One of the biggest challenges I see in business today is that people know, they say intellectually, they know they should be better listeners. Well, often that means that they still have a set of pre-described or preset questions they want to ask. And no matter what the other person says, that first individual is going to get to those questions, by God. That's not empathetic listening. You got to take all that and put it to the side, clear your head out, and listen intently to what the other person is saying. And then get clarity. So often in communication, and I talked about this in the video yesterday about the curse of knowledge, we make assumptions far too often in communication. This is where disagreements and even hostility come in because we misinterpret what people say. So listen to gain clarity. When you hear terms or references that you don't understand, stop the conversation and ask questions. And one of the best ways you can do that is what's called labeling. Labeling, if I can find my mouse here, just like to have that as a reference. Labeling means you feed back what you've just heard to the other person to make sure you understand what they're saying. So, for example, if you're talking with a coworker who's really struggling with a project, don't make assumptions, ask questions like, it sounds like you're really struggling with this particular aspect of the project. It seems like you're having a difficult time balancing this with the rest of your schedule. Is that technically a question? No, but it comes across as a question. So phrases like it seems like, it sounds like, it looks like, it feels like are terrific methods to get the other person to open up and also gain clarity for you. Now, this idea of labeling, I learned from hostage negotiators. Now, sometimes people are afraid to use this because they'll say, well, what happens if I make a mistake and I mislabel? That's even better. Why? Why? Because in general, people love to correct people when they make mistakes. So if you mislabel a situation, the other person will correct you. When you address this early in a conversation or even in a relationship, labeling or mislabeling, no matter which you do, you're going to gain clarity on that other person's feelings, their beliefs about a certain situation, which can make for much more solid ground for any kind of negotiation. And please don't be intimidated by that word negotiation. You and I are negotiating all day long. It may be with our children, our significant others, our spouses, business associates, prospective clients, potential employees, potential investors. We're negotiating all the time. So when we understand the other person's position, what they might want or need out of a particular situation or negotiation, it's going to make for a much better experience for all parties involved. And we come from a place of understanding what that other person's situation is. So label and mislabel. One other idea for you before we go: always address using you-focused language. One of the skills I was taught early in sales is when I hear somebody say something, feed it back to them by saying something like, well, what I hear you saying, or it seems to me that this is what you're going through. Who's the focus on in statements like that? It's on me. This is a slight shift, but it's important. By keeping you focused in your statements, like, it sounds like you're struggling with, it feels like you're dealing with this issue. It seems like this is very difficult for you. All the emphasis is on the other person. It keeps you out of the equation, and it helps you stay focused on that other individual. If you would like more insights into this, I encourage you to check out a couple of books. One is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. He is an FBI hostage negotiator. I have studied him for years. He's got fabulous insights into this skill. And if you want to get nerdy and understand the human physiological response to these types of questions and comments and conversation, read The Moral Molecule by Paul Zak. You'll understand what's going in people's bodies when they hear certain questions or they experience particular emotions. If you have any questions at all about speaking, storytelling, selling, persuasion, I'd be happy to talk with you. Just contact me at Speaking CPR or email me, Mike at Speaking CPR. I look forward to talking with you in our next video.